be Bitcoin, whether it be Ethereum, whether it be Solana, anything crypto, I think. Sell. Help me here! I can't stop!
GM, we have Bitcoin slowly breaking down here below $27,000. So at this point, there is only one man that can save us. We need a bit of inverse Cramer. So let's listen into what Jim has to say about Bitcoin right now, which could potentially pump us back up. Our final hopium, if you will. So we have a few sound bites here of Jim Cramer speaking yesterday on BTC. Let's just listen in and see if this can activate the bull market.
Can't be in something where Mr. Bitcoin is about to go down big. I would not touch crypto in a million years. These people who own these things should not own them. They shouldn't own them. I do think you're an idiot. Okay?
So Cramer thinks you're an idiot if you hold Bitcoin or crypto more broadly. But as we know, Jim is often incorrect in his analysis, and he does keep calling local tops and bottoms with an inverse signal. Hence, when he says sell, you should buy, and typically when he is bullish, you should get very bearish very quickly. So it is down to Cramer. Now, this was even picked up by Bluntzier. Bitcoin finally broke down from this recent range. It can still be a corrective ABC down, and we can't discount that it's still on an uptrend support. And obviously Cramer coming out and saying BTC is a short is a pretty big signal you can't ignore in his opinion. As you can see, A, B, C pattern he mentioned, it has broken down out of the box, but is on the trend line there at 27K. And he goes on, if we do reclaim the range back into the box, we can target 27.5, and that well could be bullish. But BTC seemingly breaking down. As you can see, my pivot at 27K is now being smashed into by a rather large red candle there. So the next point on the chart to be looking at is the low 26 regions around the BitBoy arrest. So this may have a bit more context to play out here, and we potentially get to see if BitBoy's arrest does hold as a bottom. Generally, the market is looking pretty weak here. BTC is down 2%, ETH is down just 0.6%, but of course has been smashed down further and quicker than BTC in the last week or so. Weakness being shown up in the sentiment. So sentiment analysis wise, a 47, people becoming more fearful as well. Clearly the Middle East having a large effect on people's mindset, and this obviously shows itself in bearishness as well, because you know consuming loads of negative stuff is going to make you think a lot more negatively. So a risk-off environment seems to be in order here. But what does one of the world's most famous investors, Paul Tudor Jones, have to say on BTC right now? Let's listen into this clip. Quite interesting.
But I also just looked on the screen behind you and I saw the price of Bitcoin. And I know every time we've spoken, you've had a take on Bitcoin. Do you have a new take? Still holding?
I think now the barbarous relics, and I would lump gold and Bitcoin together.
So he likes gold and digital gold, aka BTC. He previously was bullish back in 2020 on Bitcoin at 9K, and that obviously played out an absolute treat for him. He did then call it again in June of 21, I believe it was. Bitcoin, of course, did rally after that. He had doubled his position between the 2020 and 2021 statements. But of course, we topped later in the year of 2021 and now down over 50% from that marker.
I think they probably take on a larger percentage of your portfolio than historically they would, because we're going to go through both a challenging political time here in the United States, and we're going to go through, we've obviously got a geopolitical situation. So I would say...
But high interest rates were supposed to be the thing that was actually going to be unhelpful to Bitcoin.
Well, and I think on a relative basis, look what's happened to gold. It actually has been. Clearly, it suppressed it. So you know that more likely than not, we're going to go into recession. There's some pretty clear-cut recession trades. The easiest are the yield curve gets really steep, term premium goes into the back ends of debt markets, right, into 30-year, 10-year, and 7-year paper. The stock market typically, right before a recession, declines about 12%. That's probably going to happen at some point, from some level.
12% reduction in the S&P.
You look at the big shorts in gold, more likely than not, in a recession, the market's typically really long assets like Bitcoin and gold. So there's probably a $40 billion worth of buying that has to come in to gold at some point. between now and if that recession actually occurs. So yeah, I like Bitcoin and I like gold right here.
So Bitcoin and gold on his menu for increasing allocation towards, which was quite interesting. He wants to own more Bitcoin and more gold going forward with the geopolitical situation, even with these high interest rates. Clearly, he must feel that they're going to have to come down at some point. And of course, wars are very expensive. The amount of money required to pay for the resources, well, that is going to have to be printed from somewhere. So of course, these are kind of hedges towards that monetary debasement. So even as BTC is obviously selling off a bit here today, long term, the trajectory is up. These will be blips on the map, I do believe, in the long run. And this is just some of the volatility you have to sit through as a crypto investor. Then we have the SPX. So S&P 500 is still looking pretty bullish. I've kind of mapped out this kind of target range. Even if this does get rejected, it still has some legs in here, maybe all the way up to 44 and 50, somewhere in that kind of range. But unfortunately, it looks like crypto is not getting the same follow through bid that the stocks are. But we do have a couple of winners in the portfolio, a lot of them in the portfolio not looking the best right now, but Crown from Photo Finish Game is up big over the last 24 hours. I have trimmed off a small amount, around 15% of my position here into cash, hoping to buy back a bit lower, because if you look at the 7-day chart here, as you can see, a massive spike up from around 18 cents to 27. And of course, you expect this to have a little bit of a pullback in here. What was the reason for this? Well, it is getting shilled, and I use that in the nicest term because, of course, I do believe it has great fundamentals and it is a game that will go up a lot, especially in a bull market. But this from Crypto Sivo, who has put the pump on many coins. I'm sure you have realized that if you're on crypto Twitter. Crown reminds me of Axie Infinity, but this one has a much higher potential. $1 billion is programmed. It's on Sol, so everyone's lazy and can't be asked to go over there. Can't wait for the day for people to ask me what the next crown is. Camino as well, also kind of in the same kind of social circle as Sivo. From yesterday though, these guys like bull tweeting saw the number of active users on the game go from roughly like 60 active users all the way up to over 100, that is. And on the right hand side, the number of stables per day in the race went from roughly 20 odd over to 80. So they have moved the market somewhat, not only in a price sense, but also in terms of players in the game, which will be overall bullish for this. But of course, BTC breaking down, the coin's up like 50% in a day. It would make sense to trim a little bit of the position, as it looks like the markets more broadly want to come down at this point. And then KUJI is up as well, looking pretty healthy here. It's actually just continuing to go up, even against the tide that is BTC and the crypto markets more broadly slowing down here, up to around 79, 80 cents overnight. And what we're seeing here is a lot more big bulls coming out. So Lucas here, this guy, just come on my radar in the last month or so and continues to non-stop bull post about KUJI amongst some other cryptos. And this leads me down the road of thinking, what kind of communities can actually engage people like this who really want to shill coins 24/7 online? I mean, to do this relentlessly on Twitter does take a lot of effort, to be fair. And so you got to think, what communities actually will be welcoming to this? What kind of communities do people want to get involved with? Are they going to get a lot of praise from? And this is a perfect fit for KUJI, to be fair, a very active, engaged, almost cult-like mentality around KUJI. The community is one of the major reasons I've invested. Plus, of course, they ship like crazy. So you have product and community hand in hand doing very well. And so in my mind, this spells that in the bull market, when a lot of new people enter, people who want to come and bull post about their coins are going to fall into the category like this guy here and start following along with the likes of KUJI. So just thinking about how people are positioned socially in coins is something to really consider here in this bear market, and try and extrapolate out how this will play in a full-blown bull. He's calling for $350 per KUJI token there, which is pretty damn incredible. And I would be retired on an island if that does come true. So with Bitcoin falling now to 26.8, we are hoping for inverse Cramer to kick into action, as Jim is definitely more oftentimes wrong than he is right. I hope you enjoyed this one. Subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.